How are we doing, people? He's all right. So, before I go any further, it should be an open platform, but again, I've had issues with this PC in the last couple of days and I have lost OBS, so I'm waiting on some assistance to help me set OBS back up again. So what I'm going to do this evening, I'm going to talk about a couple of things, and I'm going to send links to people that I know are sound. So if I have you in Google Hangouts, I'm going to send you it. Anybody else who wants to join, send me a message or somehow get in contact with me through the Hangouts, and I can send you the link that way. Right, I'm just going to say hello quick before I get into this. I've been rushing about, so I see that there's some predictable shite happening yet again in this whole fucking thing, which should be telling people a hell of a lot in regards to what this online shit is about and how it can affect people, okay, and warp people's sense of sensibility. Right. So, anybody new to this, okay? And I'm going to try and slow this down a wee bit and clarify it for people, because what happens is that people get involved with these types of things for totally the wrong reasons. They don't fully understand the enormity and the severity and the simplicity of this topic. They get themselves caught up in jargon. They get themselves caught up in being pulled from pillar to post because they're more in it to be accepted by people. They're more in it to be some sort of celebrity. They're eating themselves up because their intent was never true from the off. And these things are much predictable. I've predicted a lot of the people who have got involved, and I have predicted what is going to happen to them. From contempt to, you know, downing tools to reversing to jumping ship, all sorts of fucking nonsense, just because people are not committed to their own knowing and committed to their own understanding. They're not doing it with integrity, real honesty, with a real knowing of the seriousness of the situation that we're in. It becomes a subculture for people. It becomes a new trend. It's stylish. Oh, look, I'm somebody in the flat earth stuffs. Oh, yeah. Oh, and then what happens? Oh, I'm not getting satisfied with that anymore. Do you know what? So I'm going to gripe and moan about it, and I'm going to cause all sorts of fucking problems. I'm going to give gobshites the time of day and all that fucking nonsense. And people just get themselves torn to fucking shreds. So, why are people getting involved in this if they're not committed to what they actually know? Should be the question. The whole thing, as I predicted from the beginning, has been turned into a fucking circus. A fashion show, celebrityism, popularity contest, views, like, subscribe, share. Who likes me? How can I appeal to more people? How can I be accepted by the white populace? Absolute fucking lunacy. If you come in it with that, you're just going to end up an absolute fucking shambles. I understand the severity of my situation. This is why I continually said, stick to the facts. Do not adopt nonsense. Don't get involved in bullshit. Be a direct realist. You can only account and know things that are in your direct experience. We'll get to some of these aspects about the contents of the room that we don't even know we're in regards to the other conspiracy topics from 9/11, Free-Man movement, the whole fucking shebang, right? First and foremost, this is not about appealing to authority, consensus, academia, or any external authority. This is about me, a human being, trying to reason and rationalise with you as an individual. We're talking about the objective world. So know how you feel about your life what your feelings are, what your favourite colour is, whether you like Ferrari in red or whether you like it in yellow, or whether you don't like Ferrari or whether you like Lamborghini or whatever. I'm talking about the objective world, the world that is just here with its contents when you open your fucking eyes every morning. When another human being is trying to reason and show something to be objectively true to another human being, they must practically demonstrate. That's the bar I set for myself. I am a skeptic of every fucking thing, including my own mind. I encourage you to be the same. When we're talking about the objective world, claims that are being made must be presented in a practical, demonstrable fashion. What has happened over time with the heliocentric globe cult is that they have implemented it over a period of time. While the populace gets dumber and dumber and more distracted with trinkets and toys, they up the sophistry. Sophism and sophistry, for people who don't understand, is sophisticated ways of convincing people that something is true. Pretty much like a politician does, or any governing authority, to get the backing of the masses. Convince you of something that's not in your best interests, that's not maybe true, but that doesn't matter. It's about affecting people on an emotional level, to get them to commit to things from an emotional point of view rather than a logical reasoning process. So through time, as people get dumber and dumber and dumber, they started to up the ante with the globe bullshit. Now the globe comes at us in the form of a language. Language is not an objective thing. Language is a man-made construct. Mathematics is a man-made language. The globe depends heavily upon it. It has worked mathematical formulas to fit a concept that was later supported by imagery on a TV screen. Now that imagery on numerous occasions has been faulty. There has been many anomalies found with their footage. But at the fundamental level, there's an even bigger problem with their footage. Their footage does not match tangible, objective reality. So when somebody like me, who believed they lived on a globe for the majority of my life, 36 years, 37 years, whatever it is, I did not know I was not complicit in a lie. I helped to perpetuate the bullshit because I was gullible, I was ignorant. And then I caught myself on and I started to dig in because I was fed up of deceiving myself. I was fed up of other people offering me bullshit that helped me to deceive myself. So I dug in and I set a standard for what has to be shown to me in order for me to accept something as being part of my objective reality. Now that comes to demonstration of substance, not an image on a screen, backed by linguistic bullshit. When people talk about science, they don't understand the subdivisions of science. Natural sciences, formal and social. Natural sciences deal with the objective world, natural phenomena, the substances therein, and the relationships with each other. Formal sciences like mathematics are language, descriptors. And like any other language, I can tell you Santa Claus is real, I can tell you Santa Claus is a fairy tale. One is true, one is bullshit. They are both correct grammatically, but one's lies. Social sciences deals with culture, people, society, subjectivity. So the globe invokes science like a mantra. They're using science. They're using technologies to fucking deceive you into thinking you're somewhere that you're not. So, when I address it, and as a child, and I remember having the thought, and I remember having continuations of the thought anytime I was on a ferry going across the channel, trying to imagine that I was going round the curve of a sphere with bending water and oceans. And I assumed that and left it alone right up until I was about 36 years old. And then I realised the utter stupidity, the utter ignorance of my being. Water doesn't behave like that. It's a fundamental, demonstrable fact of your reality. You can test for yourself. No appeal to consensus or authority required. No mathematical bullshit will trump it. The physical behaviours and characteristics of the abundant substance known as water upon this earth tells you beyond any shadow of a doubt it's impossible for you to be living on the exterior of a potato rock. Now, through time, people get worn down and they hear these stories of, oh, well, how do you know? How do you know at some point it doesn't start bending? Because it's incapable. You can test it. It does not have the capabilities, the molecular structure, if you like. It has no elasticity. The molecules of water do not bind together to form shapes upon the surface. They bounce off each other until they find their equilibrium. It's a simple statement. Liquid will take the shape of its container. The surface will always be horizontal, equal, at every given point. So the difference in thinking and reasoning is to understand about the objective, tangible world. Regardless of whether somebody's shown you an image that contradicts your common sense, everyday, direct reality. That's what's happened with the globe. They have contorted people's minds. People are contorting their own minds. People are performing self-mental gymnastics, ignoring their very constitution, because the consensus says that the image you see on a TV is real. That's not how it works. As human beings, we explore the objective world we find ourselves in. We understand the behaviours of substances, their relationships to each other. Water does not conform to the exterior of shapes. Water will equilibrate upon its surface. The body of liquid will take the shape of any container and fill it. 2, as human beings, we understand what is required to create a gas pressure. As human beings, we understand what is required for there to be a vacuum. Both vacuum and gas pressure require some sort of containment. When we put the two different environments together, vacuum, gas pressure, they will find the equilibrium. You cannot have a gas pressure coexist in a medium like a vacuum without containment. Absolute absurd, insult, impossibility. So right there and then, you have two fundamental facts, demonstrable facts of your reality that tell you something's wrong with the image that you believe to be true. So you then have a choice. Do you listen to priests? Do you listen to the cult zealotry, trying to convince you to ignore your common sense, direct reality in favour of an image? That's your choice. You're not going to come at people like me, though. We are idiotic, lazy arse, ignorant thinking, and convince me that I live on an image. And there's a difference between me committing because I know what to be true. Do you know why? Because I'm the fucking boss. No some other cunt out here. In there is mine. I make the decisions. I commit to what I know to be true. If you keep lending yourself to other people with low self-esteem and insecurity and fear, You're going to be influenced. So, if you're not committed to your own discernment, what you should do is fuck right off, right? Have a fucking word with yourself. Maybe you need some more life experience to rattle you out of your fucking self-delusion. Until then, you have no place in this discussion. And it is only a discussion, which brings me to the other point of this. We shouldn't have different camps. I'm not in any camp. I am in the camp of objective truth, objective science. That doesn't have separate camps. Anybody that gets involved in this question and they're promoting globe earth, flat earth, concave earth, and calling everybody shells and trying to have everybody in different camps, watch them. Catch yourself on for getting involved in it. Reality is singular. Not an idea to be won or lost. Not to be argued to be won or lost. It is what it is, regardless of what anybody wants to believe. So what you should ask yourself is, why are these people not endeavouring to progress this further so that we can have it out on the open table for it all to be discussed openly and objectively so that we can put it to bed once and for all? Sorry, I've got ghosts opening my fucking shed door. Oh, but we don't get that. We don't get rational, real people. We get fucking morons trying to champion a debate, trying to maintain some false dichotomy like there's two sides to the fucking game. Well, there is, and we'll look at that in a minute. But in regards to objective reality, there is no two fucking sides. The two sides or the three sides are being played at a social level, which is where the psyop aspect comes in. Objectivity is not a fucking psyop. People get confused again because they don't understand the definitions, they don't understand the topic they're getting involved in. Objective science, how liquid behaves, what's demonstrable, it's not a psyop. The psyop comes in with a division, putting people in camps, playing social games with each other, wearing people down with mantras. We'll get to that. So what else do we get? Oh, look at my stuff straight in front of me. It's disappearing over the curve of the earth. Oh, and look at the stuff in the sky. I'm just going to make assumptions about it and say, oh, look, that means it's a globe. Absolute lunacy. The sky has got fuck all to do with the dimensions of the earth, especially when you're dealing with intangible visibles. Oh, look, this is how liquid behaves. Surface always equalises, takes the shape of a container. Impossible to be living on a globe. Aye, but what about the sun? How does the sun do this? And how does the stars do that? Ah, but what about the water? Ah, never mind that. I want to go to Fantasyland up here. Or I want to go to my whiteboard and listen to idiots with equations. It wears people down because they're not committed to the enormity of what is actually going on. It's not happening quick enough for people. So people fill their time with going on YouTube, doing live hangouts every fucking day. And then wonder why they're being burnt out. Come on to fuck people. Activism. Get active. Don't formulate yourself into wee culty groups, right? As we can now see what's happening with the mainstream media. Eh? Going out with bullshit information, acting like a fucking fruitcake. Commit to this. for yourself, for your own knowing. Be an activist in your own grounds. Speak to people directly. Cut out the bullshit. Now we're talking about going into fucking schools. What we bullshit about the moon and fucking, oh look, zoom into my ships, I can see it all. It can go as far as it likes and I can zoom in on it and all this crap. Is that what we're going to do, is it? We're going to go to schools now. Oh, look at my pizza dish and my dome and my ice wall. Is that what we're going to be fucking doing? Really? What happened to you were born into the claim that it's a globe? What happened to there's faults with the globe? There's real issues here with this globe thing. Can we just talk about that? They need to go in as a flat earther. Because you don't know where the fuck you are. You're listening to morons hypothesising and fantasising about domes, ice walls, beings at the North Pole, fucking fairy dust, I don't fucking know what. And trying to convince you that it's relevant to talk about all that nonsense. It's fucking no relevant. What's relevant is you were born into a cult that told you were somewhere that you're no. Now you're realising how to break the language apart. Now you're realising how to see through their sophistry. What do you bring to the table while you're doing that? Do you just fucking throw arrows at the fucking claim? No. While you're at it, you're dragging all sorts of fucking garbage into the discussion. And now morons are talking about going into fucking schools. Tell you what, if they're going to fucking schools, they better be going in there purely on the grounds of talking about the bullshit globe without making any other fucking claim. The only way out of this for us as human beings is to sort it the fuck out. First and foremost, you have to understand the processes of your own mind. You have to be able to separate your subjectivity from objective and start from there. If you're not capable of that, you've got fuck all to offer anybody else. Certainly no fucking children. You're born into a cult, a system. The majority of people, what they've lived so far that they call a life, it's not a fucking life. It's not off their own back. It was offered to you. You bought it. You got involved. From relationship to career to hobby. You were told and given narratives and stories, existential stories about your existence. Supernatural being made you. Nothing made you. This is the way life is. Hey. You don't even know where you are. If you don't know where you are, what game are you playing? Huh? You just come in here blindfolded. You just walk into any game room blindfolded and start playing whatever game you fucking like. Without even knowing the game room that you're in. So it's all busy. You've got so much to focus on. No, you fucking don't. No, you don't. The only thing you should be focused on is what is in your direct experience. The only thing you can do is listen to stories and hearsay and find anomalies or contradictions. That's as far as you're going to go. Trust me, I've been there to the ends. So when you get idiots telling you that you should give relevance and your attention to meaningless drivel that you were never a part of and you're never going to be a part of, they're fucking at it. There's things that have went on in this room, whatever the fuck it is, that you're never going to resolve. You're never going to get to the bottom of. You're never going to have justice for. Let it go. What you have to do is come to a point of realization, right? That, aye, you bought the products that were offered to you. But as of that very moment, you're not playing that game anymore. You're going to remove your attention from their games, their psyops. You're going to focus on you. You're going to ask yourself the questions, what's important to me? This is what it's taught you. You were born into it. You were fed this pseudo-intellectualism of repeat and regurgitate. And you think it makes you clever. You're no, you're just a fucking idiot. Same as I was just an idiot. Now I'm not an idiot. Now I know that I know fuck all. And I tell you what, anything that gets in there is going to get through a fucking very fine filter. There's no requirement for a human being to have belief of anything. That is a mind virus to the human. Belief in concepts and ideas is of absolutely no fucking use to you whatsoever. What is being played on is your constitution that has a want to explore, a desire to understand, a desire and will for progress. You're being offered stumbling blocks, cul-de-sacs, trinkets, distractions. Because you're scared, anxious, impatient, you give your attention to these things and then you lose yourself. You don't need to be a pseudo-intellectual, windswept and interesting that fucking knows it all. You're a fucking Joe Bloggs the same as me. I can only offer you my direct experience. You can only offer the same. You need to eradicate the fluff and bullshit that you've adopted that makes you part of a culture and a society and a history and a belonging. Grow a set. There's an opportunity presenting itself to us here for us to eradicate the fucking bullshit nonsense that we've been born into and been subjected to. Fuck hierarchy. Fuck authority. Ask yourself, who has the right to have that over you? Nobody does, and they know it. They can only imply that they do. It's you that consents. It's you that creates your own illusion. So, we'll get to some of the contents of the room. First and foremost, we have to understand this. The contents of the room are here. The only contents of this room that I can deal with as an individual is what is in my direct experience. It's the same for you. The contents of this room, as far as I can see, are utter shit. There is very minimal amount of information or anything in this arena, this cult society that we're born into that gives you anything in the way of an objective answers or clues to your existence. For me, that is priority. If I don't know where I'm not going to throw my hands up in the air and rejoice in ignorance and involve myself in ideas. The contents of the room are here. They're not going anywhere. What I need to know is what the room actually is. I'm going to use the same analogy yet again. If I took a group of you right now, blindfolded you, wiped your fucking memory, and threw you into a massive room with other rooms within it, and in there I left monuments and books, literature, art, placed it all about the place, right? And had other people in there telling you that their book or their literature or their art was true. And then I wake you up and you take the blindfold off and you start going, oh, what's going on here? Oh, I like that. I like that shiny thing. I'm going to go and see what it is. Oh, yeah, it's fucking great. Right? You're going to do that for so long. Then you're going to start asking, where the fuck am I here? Now, your choice then is to continue with the contents of the room, to continue with the priests, the books, the literature, the art, the nonsense, and try and fathom it out somehow. Or you could just ignore it all and you could put your hands out and start walking about to see if you can feel a wall. How far does the room extend? What's beyond the room? Maybe that'll take me closer to knowing what the fuck I'm involved in here, because the books and the contents of the room are not offering me fuck all. Fair enough, some of the contents can give you some realizations. They're not going to give you the fundamentals. So, people that telling you what's relevant is things like legal name fraud, 9/11, the Illuminati, aliens, reptiles, all this fucking stuff. You're going to be forever chasing your tail unless you have direct experience of any one of these topics. If you do not have direct experience of any of these topics, contents of the room, why are you involving yourself in it? Why are people encouraging you to involve yourself in it? Is it maybe to distract you? To take your focus away? Because remember the raw feeling that you had when you made this realization. Don't let that raw feeling escape you. Because what's in place is buffers. Okay? People, groups, concepts, detractors, trying to stifle that rawness in you. And it works. Especially when people are not getting progress or seeing results quick enough. That starts to wear on people. It wears them down. To the point where they just want to gear up and resort back to the cult way of thinking that they had known before. It takes determination, it takes commitment. Again, if you don't have that in your armoury, don't get involved in it. Sit back, be a bystander, an onlooker, someone who waits for everybody else to sort it out. There's no point in you bringing your confusion into a question that is objective. So, anyway, I have rambled enough for now. I'm going to send a link to a few people very shortly. So, There's nothing new from the globe. There's no going to be anything new. The only thing they have is to up the ante, to try and pressure people with new characters, ridicule, reworking the same bullshit over and over again. It has nothing new to offer. Nothing. Straight observations in sky and pictures. That's it. Your direct experience of reality is showing you that it's not a ball. It's demonstrably level. There's aspects that we don't fully understand, and you shouldn't expect yourself to fully understand them. We're at a raw, early process of realisation here. We have went so far into the bullshit that we're now pulling ourselves back from the bullshit to a fresh slate, which is why I keep saying exploration, exploration. We need the world's populace asking the question. No asking the questions of a claim and replacing it with some other bullshit. Asking the questions of what they believed. And anybody who is professing to have integrity or truthful or being objective should be pushing for the same. It should be obvious and clear to anybody with any sense that there's questions to be answered, more questions to be asked, and that it's no going away. Ridicule, putting people in camps, two sides, false dichotomies, opposing each other and fighting back and forwards. That's just all deliberate to sap your energy and your attention. You're born into a cult, people. There is deceivers out there. There is people who are not interested or care what your best interests are or whether you're going to get truth or not. And it's pointless you arguing and debating with other people to hope to achieve it, that some authority is going to now hand you the information you need. We need to get up off our arses and find out what the fuck it actually is. That means disbanding any opposers, governments, boundaries, borders, restricted zones. This psyop thing, you hear it branded about so much. Flat Earth's a psyop, or globe Earth's a psyop. Aye, you know, they are. Because they're cartoon concepts. The globe is a cartoon image. Flat is a cartoon image. And so is concave. They're cartoons. Cartoon models, images, no reality. So when you see people perpetuating that, I'm right, you're wrong, you're a shell, meh. There's something wrong. You really need to think about that. One reality, no dichotomy. Why do we have all these different factions? It's not a religion. It's not a belief. It's not an idea or a concept. The real world is a tangible fact. Singular. So people should be pushing to have the question out in the open. We should be discerning to be able to detect the propaganda, the psyop aspects that are being played. The psyop aspect is being played at a social level, playing people off against each other at an emotional level. Understand the words, okay? Anyway. Nicholas Brown, how you doing? By the way, I can't have the open platform. What I do have though is the phone back on. Just give me a wee second here. So if anybody wants to phone, just let me test this quick to make sure that's the right SIM card. TP in a tree, dabbing good. Luke Marshall, RS level playing. Just some guy. Robert Matthews. Dean Stewart. Tony Dixon. How you doing? Ah, shit. Stephen Watson. Flat Earth Dave. Navo. Jim Eldred. Nicholas Brown. Midnight Gardener. Luke Marshall. David Holsworth. Shit. Fresh 75, Mary Moon, AB, hi there, what do you think? If there is more land and we are not under the dome, do you think the people who control us and live with us time to time travel to other lands, or they stay here with us? I don't know, we need to explore it. And again, you know, statements like this, do you think the people who control us, well, when we say these things, we have to understand what we're talking about. There's control, physical control, in regards to borders, passports, things like that, right? Nobody controls your mind. Nobody controls your self-being. They don't have any power there. People need to understand the difference. Physicality, metaphysics, subjective consciousness, right? Your mind is yours. Nobody controls that but you. It can only be influenced. And it can be influenced even greater when you're unaware and ignorance of certain aspects of influence. So if you think, or anybody thinks people are controlling them, don't be the victim and don't act the victim. It's ridiculous. You are allowing it. You are facilitating it. Do you think there's human beings that have got a magical crystal ball with wee spritey fairies in it that they can send, that can enter through your skull and go into your brain and make you think and feel things and make decisions? Come on. So, domes, more land, couldn't give a fuck. I have no preference for any model. Models are no reality. The only thing I care about, that I'm passionate about, focused on and determined is what is it actually. Lady Onyx, Russian Vids, Robbie Stones, Davin Good, The Shot Caller, Neil McCrobb, Damien Thorne. Has Jamie Brown sold it? No, Jamie Brown's not sold it. Jamie Brown's just getting involved in this for the wrong reasons. Jamie Brown's involved himself with a load of nonsense and lost himself within it. So when it happens to people like Jamie Brown, they need to take a step back, take a breath, compose themselves, take their own mind back, put their attention back on themselves. Jamie Thorne, Flat Accord Music, Beyond Belief. How you doing? Midnight Gardener, Just Some Guy. Oops. Phil Jones, Lawrence Jensen. Well, thank you very much.
Eventually.
Yes. I expected that 5 minutes ago and I was let down.
Fuck off.
Right? My expectation. My fault. No hers. But that's how people gaslight each other and don't even recognise it. You need to understand the games that you're setting up for yourself, what you buy into, your expectations, your beliefs, your desires. People, I'm sick of people running about making themselves victims all the time. Execute expectation. Execute 200. It's an absolute fucker for people. Derek Trotter, Pat Mustard, Anders Ace, Magumba, how you doing? And see, that's it. Just tells you how it is. I'm no snowflake. I was not offended. Should I cry myself to sleep? My missus told me to fuck up. Oh, she should wash her mouth out with soap. That's not how a lady should speak. Highway Child, Alfredo Barragan. Marilyn Wisby, how you doing? Expander. Christy Lomas, how you doing? Mr. Reds07. Ute, West Coast Wisdom, how you doing? James Richard. Everybody is religious. Their beliefs are gathered through discernment of their own individual lives. Nobody lives the same life, and for that which is unknown, everybody differs. You're religious if you start formulating worldviews based on nothing. Right. Let me see here. I don't know who's here. I don't have many on the contacts. So just to open it up for a wee bit of variation here, I'm going to send this. I'll see some people have messaged me here. Veronica, nice to see your message there. I'll get back to that. Robert Matthews, Merrill as well. Rock, I'll get back to that as well. Anybody else here? Right. Any palm bombing happens, I'm going to... Oh, shit. What else is here? I'm just sending you these links, people. Obviously, you don't need to join if you don't want to join. It's not an expectation either. Just bear with me a wee second here, people. Nick, I don't know if you're about Nick. I don't seem to have you as a contact here, Phuket Word Nick. I'm just looking for you to send you a link in case you want to join. No. Give me a wee second here. Yeah, that's fine. Oh, nice one, Nick. I'm just going to go to my emails right now. What the fuck? Two seconds here, people. Just need to bear with me a wee minute here. What the fuck's going on here? Right, Nick, I've found the Nick Davies account. Nice one, Bill. I'm sending you to the Nick Davies. Hopefully you get it there, bud. So let me involve some people. So we keep hearing that there's much more than just the shape of the earth that people's attentions and focus should be on. So let me hear it. What is more important that you think people should be focused on? Give me suggestions and your reasons for why. Okay? For me, what's the most important aspect is that people understand themselves, the workings of their own mind, first and foremost. Good noise. Hey, Nick, you're there. How you doing, bud?
Hi, Dale. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, all good, mate, all good.
Nice one. Yeah, good to see you. Got a shiny new computer, so hopefully we got a nice connection today.
Aye, no issues, no gremlins this evening, mate.
Lovely, lovely.
I see you've been responding to some absolute idiocy.
Oh, it's insane that you've got to point this stuff out, isn't it, man?
But it kind of backs up what I was saying earlier, Nick. You know, it's like they just seem to be on repeat, regardless of what's shown, regardless of how many times it's discussed. They just keep coming back with the same crap over and over again. You know?
Yeah.
But for anybody that doesn't know, you know, Nick made a recent video, and anybody please check Nick's channel out. Talking about perspective, you know, you get globe Earth believers still pushing this, that, you know, because something goes below your eye level, it's somehow going over a curve. You know, a simple demonstration. I put a comment in the chat. I've expressed this before. I'm sitting right now looking at my back entrance to my home. The window and the door is pretty much at my eye level. So, from that the back door's curving and my house is doing a curve. No, things compress and get smaller as they go further away from me. I mean, why do you need to point that out to people? It's fucking incredible.
Yeah, that's it. And of course, the argument's just flip. But apparently now it's okay for any flat earther to perform an experiment and tilt the camera. That's okay now because all the globers are saying it's okay to tilt the camera. So.
I know, this is the thing. You know, people give them this authority like they've got some sort of authority. They're morons. They believe absurd bullshit. Honestly.
Oh dear, I still struggle with whether it's is it that they really can't see it, or is it just this they do know what they're doing, and it's just
well, they obviously don't play the skeptical game with themselves, devil's advocate with themselves. You know, I'm sure you did, Nick. I had to do the same. I had to suspend my bias in regards to the globe and say, okay, I'm going to try and break this here to see if, you know, because if it's real, it'll hold up and then I'm fine, I'm comfortable with it again. And it just never happened for me. You know, I had no preference or wish for it not to be true. But so I look at these people and I say, are they applying the same process? Obviously no. And at this stage of the game, you know, that they're obviously displaying that, you know, that they seem to be on task. And, you know, I don't want to always point the finger and say that, but it leaves you with no other conclusion, you know?
Yeah. It's but it's it's frightening, you know, that we've reached this. We've reached this state of assuming that we know everything. That's the thing, isn't it? We're led to believe, believe. It's all about belief. Yeah.
As I was saying at the beginning, it's this pseudo-intellectual, windswept and interesting garbage that human beings have adopted. They've been sold this narrative of caveman to you know, cutting edge, you know, evolved, cutting edge people. You know, and people are just jumping on the bio. Yeah, I'm part of this. I'm superior, intellectual. The majority of people I speak to don't even know why they fucking believe they live on a globe. So there's a real issue here, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, we've all, like you say, we've all been through it. And, you know, you part of the process is questioning, you know, is this a psyop? Am I being, you know, you do question yourself. You know, conspiracy theorists are the most paranoid bunch out there, and you know,
I was a conspiracy theorist a long time ago, and this is the problem. You know, it's like this is not a conspiracy theory. the implications are there is a conspiracy, because based on objective facts, there's obviously something going on. And then we get further on, we can see the sophisticated language and where it's been done deliberately, and it has been done deliberately. Mate, there's no it's just a mistake. People who came afterwards were mistakenly led into a belief system, but there was certainly people who implemented this and knew exactly what they were up to.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's certainly reached a point for me recently. I haven't made anything public about it, but it's very, very clear how, like you say, the knowledge was there about how to carry out the deception.
Yeah.
Because it is all down to interpretation. The maths works out the same, and all that. And it's so you can be, and that's, I mean, if only we were raised to have this discernment between, like as we were saying earlier, the abstract concepts that we're given as descriptions, and time zones and all that stuff. They're all good for getting things done. But we should be taught that that's not our physical reality, and it's not because we're on a spinning ball. It's you just got to reverse engineer it, and just the decision to put the sun at the center for timekeeping reasons means that they had to create this spinning globe because they decided to put the sun at the center. It's really as simple as that, rather than as a way of keeping time. And so this whole man-made construct of time is this kind of literally a global matrix of an abstract construct that has been passed off as our physical reality.
Exactly. Exactly. And
go on.
No, that's it. And you have to try hard. I had to break it and trip myself up, find the errors of my own thinking. I used to, before I made any commitment, I would sit and go, oh, how does the sun? And then you realise you keep working and you go, but that's not providing me measurable proof of what's done here. You make these realizations, you let it go, you stop invoking it. Whereas the Globe cult and its disciples continually invoke red herrings, misrepresentations, straw man, fallacies. It's rife. And I was guilty of that because at that time I had a bias. I was scared. It was like, fucking hell, I'm whipping the foundations of my existence out from under my own feet here. And I'm scared, I'm insecure, I don't know if I can commit to myself, and, can somebody, affirm things for me, looking exterior people for affirmation, confirmation. And then again, you make the realization and go, oh, I'm making mistakes here again, I shouldn't be doing that, So there's a whole process of intellectual honesty, discernment, and continually going over and over and over to make sure that you're not deluding yourself and convincing yourself of something that's not true, So for me, people like us are showing real integrity, real honesty, Nick, because I know you never had a choice. You never chose for it not to be a globe. You were the same as me. You were born into it. And if the information shows me something that there's a problem, I have to go with the facts. That's it.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the backbone of any kind of truth seeker, isn't it? And you do reach that realization. Of course, we're constantly dealing with this misunderstanding. That's the controlled opposition, as it were. That people come along and they think that we all collectively believe in this dome and the Antarctic ice wall and things like that. It's become very wearing to just to explain to people that no, the realization we've got is that we're not on a spinning ball, but there's so much more to find out, and we're still trying to get to that stage where we're encouraging people to make that step.
But people are looking at us as if we should have all the answers because we put ourselves out there asking. That's not how it works either. Just because we don't have the answers to certain aspects or an understanding of certain aspects doesn't prove something to be true or not true. It just means that it's a work in progress. We have to further, understand. And even that term, Nick, truth seekers, or as if it's like a certain group of people. For me, it should just be the human constitution is a willingness to understand. It should just be called being a human. No, a truth seeker. I'm just a human.
Right. Yeah, and of course, the analogy of being, having your memory wiped and put in a room and then trying to find, that is perfect, because that is exactly the situation we're in. We just don't know. I don't know if I've talked about it before, but there's a kind of interesting book, Who Stole My Cheese, I think it's called. Yeah. And it just tells this story. It's a very short book, but it's, two mice that are, in this, and they get their cheese every day. They're in this kind of maze situation, and they're both very comfortable with just getting their cheese. And then all of a sudden, one day, the cheese isn't there.
Yeah.
And then so there's the one that goes off exploring, and the other one that just wants to sit there and go, oh no, I'll just wait for my cheese to come back. And it just is a great example of those two different types of people. The ones that will just freak out when the rug's pulled them out from underneath them, or the other ones will actively go and find out. Yeah, that's it. What's the crack?
And that's a perfect wee analogy, and it's just like that. Change the cheese for a job, a career, a house, a stature, and it's the exact same thing for people. They're just clinging on to it because it gives them certainty, or a sense of certainty, security, identification, belonging. And it doesn't matter that it's all just a concept created and fabricated out of nothing, doesn't matter.
But that's the thing. I mean, there are obviously those types of people that want that comfort zone, and they will spend their whole entire life trying to plan it all out. And for them, there's a sense of security, even for someone that might be told that by a doctor, for example, that you've got 6 months to live, we're going to shoot you full of poison. But that's basically, and some people actually feel comfortable with that. That's a kind of, it gives them them a plan from authority.
That's fine, because it comes through a subjective channel for me, Nick. And if people want to involve themselves with that thing, that's fine. But this is not through a subjective channel. This is across the whole scope, that affects every individual. So I'm being limited and restricted to where I can go and what I can find out for myself. So they don't have any right to their ignorance over my willingness to know and understand. Because it's not a choice like that. Oh, you want to get a vaccine, I don't. That's fine. You make your decisions and you live, your choices. This is something totally different. This is the foundation of where all this is taking place. And for me, it's hugely relevant to everybody, regardless of whether or not they know it or not.
Yeah. True. Very true. Yeah. So we still got to be shaking those people awake that don't.
It's not even to the level or some of the avenues that me or yourself have went to. It's just like, can you just get on board with this? We want this question put to bed. We want it resolved, and that's the end of it. I'm sure people would be on board with that. I'm not trying to rob them of their comfort blankets. They're entitled. They can have their comfort blanket. But just when it's something that involves the whole, then I've got an issue with that.
Sure. Yeah. In fact, I saw a comment recently from one of those.
Hey guys.
Hi, man.
Hey, Nick. Hey, Del.
You all right, bud?
I'm sorry.
Mero as well.
Okay. Sorry, I didn't want to interrupt. On you go, Nick.
Yeah, sorry. One of those guys that loves to make hit piece videos, and one of his comments was, 99.9% of the population accept this. So this means it's okay, and that's an assumption to start with, that 99% of the people, that's just in his little world. But yeah, that's a ridiculous thing that's a ridiculous argument, really. It just shows if that's all you've got, if you've got no facts or science or anything like that, just because 99%. And people, millions of people vote for one or the other candidate in a two-party election, and each of them thinks they've made the right decision. Doesn't make any of them right, and it doesn't make any of those leaders or the system right.
And they require that a period of time for people to adopt, cartoons, straw man, outlandish claims. And now what you're getting from the hit peacemakers is they're not offering any proof for a globe. All they're doing is turning it around and focusing on idiotic claims that are being made and trying to ridicule that. I've not seen any of these people offering anything in the way of a globe. Nothing, absolutely nothing.
No.
You know?
No, it's just, I mean, eventually people will see, surely people will see through that, I hope. I mean, they're welcome to carry on because they just, you know, they just look like childish idiots that don't want to face reality.
Well, I had a hunch a while back, Nick, that, you know, this whole thing's infiltrated by so many people and grassroots activism's been hijacked. You know, there's celebrities getting themselves involved in it. So I started to think, what's happening here? Are they unraveling this but trying to maintain the same mindset and then offer people some new paradigm or other bullshit? Or are they trying to pull everybody into these camps and then have like a mass expose of ridicule and trying to put it to bed? So, you know, for me, you know, both options are still available, but right now I can see it starting to creep into this mainstream aspect with utter garbage being offered. So I don't know. But that in itself is enough to confuse people, to dishearten people, to make them get back into their box and just think about chasing the trinkets again. You know? So that's why I keep saying, look, there's an opportunity here. If people can just eradicate the bullshit and focus purely on what's important, we may get progress. But if you keep giving your attention and contributing to the bullshit, then, you know, hell mend you.
Yeah, of course, that question about, you know, why would they lie? I think the more important question is realizing how much we lie to ourselves on a daily basis just to justify, you know, our own comfort zone. Yeah. Whether it's you know, anything from, you know, justifying that you should have another chocolate or another cigarette, or you know, we make excuses all the time for our own just for our own comfort, just to kind of avoid those hard questions. And so we do it to ourselves, and so Gav's points it out all the time. It's not necessarily a conspiracy of liars. It's just people going along with it for just to toe the line and not create that internal conflict. And yeah, so that's what I mean by truth seeker is you've got to, and as you said, you've got to challenge your own beliefs.
You see that, I just want to add to that point, you know, you see people like through the year from Valentine's Day to Easter to, you know, Christmas and people are partaking in these things just because that's just the way it is. And there's no real commitment or desire or real understanding of what it is they're actually, you know, behaving like that for. It's just because that's just what I know, you know, and they're not consciously aware of what they're contributing to or partaking in. It's a bizarre trait of people, but again, just to show and highlight that it's true what you said, people will just go along to get along, and if they have a comfort within it, then that makes it even better for them. And if they're being patted in the back and given stature and authority over other people, it fuels it even more, you know?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So.
All valid points, guys, you know, and Dale, I think they're doing both, you know. I do think there's a push on to, you know, get everybody into the fold and then ridicule them all at once. Yeah. I think, you know, that could be an obvious tactic. And yeah, I mean, what you said just a second ago, my feeling, and this is my personal opinion, is that if you don't know yourself well enough, right, then you won't be able to discern what others are like. Because at the end of the day, we are all similar, right? We all do the same kind of things, or we're all guilty of them, at least in the past, you know, of being, you know, telling fibs and doing things we shouldn't have done. But if you can be honest with yourself and see that within yourself, then you can start to discern it in others.
Yeah.
And that's where I think people are not, you know, they're not doing that, right? They're not looking at themselves, how their own minds work, how their own, you know, I don't know, their own attitude, their own motives and intentions. Yeah. And then, you know, they don't see it in others, you know. I mean, all I can say is, you know, I was guilty of that for long enough, you know.
Exactly. People are playing the victim, or they're operating from a messiah complex. You know, this victim savior type mindset. It's just like you say, Gav, you know, I can spot a liar a fucking mile away. How can I spot a liar a mile away? Because I've been the liar.
Right, exactly.
I wasn't scared to admit it to myself. I wasn't running away. You know, I can be the abuser, the manipulator, the lover, the hater. I can be anything that anybody can conceive of because you are me, I am you, and it's just a matter of whether or not you're honest enough to see it and accept it in yourself, you know. And as soon as you do that, then you're not afraid, you're not looking at it, you're not tearing it apart, sifting through it. And once you do that and you've got it sorted out, you can spot it a mile away. You know?
That's the thing, yeah, you start to see it then. And I think that's the, you know, you alluded to it a minute ago, but that's the mindset they want to keep people in, you know. So it doesn't matter if they swap over the paradigm, right, or tell us some fantastical stories. If we're still in that mindset, right, afterwards, if we still have that virus or whatever you want to call it, then they can do anything they want with us, right, if we don't wake up to the and smell the coffee, you know. So
people are full of self-deceit, hypocrisy, you know, and looking for somebody to blame and shut responsibility left, right, and centre. And as long as people are in that mindset, that's going to be played upon. You're going to get good cop, bad cop to the end of your fucking days, you know?
Yep.
So,
yeah, I mean, people are. I mean, we're all fallible. We've all been gullible. We've all been dishonest and sneaky and deceitful. You know, everybody's done that, right? And as long as you can, I don't know, face up to it, let's say, then you can start to see it in all the other players who are still at it, or the people who haven't woken up yet. And I think that's the big mind virus that has to get cleared out, you know?
Yeah.
I think that's what hinders all progress, you know?
And people don't recognise when they project expectations and set up a mind frame of expectancy and you know, joinder and whatever else. It's everybody is projecting that and subjecting themselves to the game rules that they set up for themselves, regardless of whether or not they're fully aware of it. That's what's happening. You hear all this new age pish about, you know, you are the god and you can make anything happen and what you think becomes true and all that stuff, but it's all fantasized and Hollywooded up into, oh, just ask the universe for a Ferrari, and you know, not talking about the social aspects of your mind frame and your mindset, you know, how you see yourself, how you delude yourself, your expectancy of others, and how that whole relationship happens. You know, nobody's looking at the nuts and bolts of that. They're just, you know, trying to be windswept and interesting and either be the messiah or the victim, whatever suits them for any given fucking scenario, you know.
And I think that's been part of the plan, you know, that separation in natural philosophy where they've removed us from the equation and they talk about, you know, all the whatever physical aspects, but no longer about the physiology of you know, what we're made of, how we think, how we think. And, you know, because that's divorced from what they tell us, then, you know, and people just don't look at it, you know, so... But, you know, just this one last thing, and I'll let somebody else speak, but you know, this whole idea of none of us know the actual game we're playing, right? I mean, if I was to play a game of chess, right, and I always get beat, and, you know, you can take this as a political analogy too. They'll give you red and blue to vote for, right? But you can't win if you're going to play by them rules on that chessboard, because all you ever get is red or blue, or, you know, win or loss, right? So, I mean, you really do have to see that, you know, we don't know what chessboard we're actually on, you know, and we can't afford to play by these rules. And that's why the exploration is paramount, you know. We need to know, you know.
And they want to hijack the exploration with religious narratives and metaphysical, spiritual narratives, trying to, you know, give us a chessboard. But again, you know, they're just concepts and ideas. In order to, you know, find out the chessboard, we actually need to know it, realise it, experience it. Then we may have a better idea of the game we're involved in. But as long as people keep throwing the religious narratives and the concepts, people are just going to be at odds with each other, at war with each other, you know. And for the same reasons, again, people are insecure, they want certainty. They'll find a narrative that suits them, or they can conceive it or perceive it in some way, and then they latch onto it. And that's it. They've now boxed themselves into limitation again, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I understand too how people get to religion, you know, and I can empathize with the fact that that's where they go. You know, I mean, I think we're all of the same realization that this is some kind of creation. So it's very easy at that point to say, oh well, fuck it, you know, there's nothing else I can do. You know, the older I get, the more I know I don't know. I might as well just go with the religious narrative because it makes me feel better, you know. I'll be alive later, or, you know, I'll live forever, or whatever you want to believe in. But
Exactly.
I'm not there yet. I don't want that. Yes, I see a creation. I don't know where the fuck I am, so I'm not prepared to take that next step until I've fully understood where I am. And that's the place I think everybody should be at before they fall into religious narratives.
Exactly.
But that's again maybe just my opinion.
But even a reason with that, and it's a rational stance. It's a logical stance. For me, it's the only stance to be taken. I can't just start adopting any old idea or concept. I mean, what's the fucking point? I've done that with the globe. I assumed that to be true. I took that for granted. And now look what's happening. So why the fuck would we again enter into the same games? It's retarded.
It's jumping out the frying pan back into the fire. You just escaped a cult mentality and then falling back into another one. I mean, I just can't understand how somebody would want to do that. And that it means they haven't learned anything.
Exactly. But it's all at that social level of the narcissistic sociopath that's within people, that want stature, that want to be relevant and popular and belong, and, that's constantly appealing to people at these levels, and they're being influenced by that because, again, they're not aware of themselves. They don't recognise the pitfalls of their own thinking,
Yep.
So, Robert, you all right?
Hey, hi, Robert.
I'm doing well. Hi, Nick, Gav, Merle. I haven't heard Merle yet. I know he's there though. I see his.
I mentioned Merle, but I think you might have trouble with his mic or something. I don't know.
No, I'm all right. I'm here.
Nice one. Aye.
Yeah. It's good to see somebody else got that much out of that book, Nick. Who Moved My Cheese is brilliant. I mean, that's really, really a good book. And this place on Saturday is for me right now it's Cheese Station C, but I keep my shoes around my neck. You know what I mean? That way I'm always ready to move along.
Cool.
Yeah. I was proper pissed off this morning though. You know what I mean? It just seems like people keep on trying to come up with explanations of something that we'll probably never ever have a grasp on. The luminaries realistically will probably never know what the fuck they are. You know what I mean? If we would have known what they are, we would have known what they are. And everybody keeps on looking up to the sky. It's like you always say, Del, we're trying to measure the fucking table and everybody keeps on wanting to look at the light fixtures. You know what I mean? And how in the fuck are we going to ever measure the table if we keep on looking up,
Exactly.
And it's just, and all these people trying to say, well, it could be this, and how do I even know I'm here, and all this other fucking bullshit. Look, there's things that we can know. We do know things, and they keep on trying to, I don't know if it's deliberate or ignorance or what, but they keep on trying to get us to fucking focus on shit that we'll never ever have a fucking grasp on.
Well, they want to remove the simplicity. Yeah, Robert, as I was saying earlier, rather than, well, I've got this substance here, this abundant substance that I know is not telling me lies. But what happens is people have now got an answer for some other aspect of the reality. And because they can't figure that out, they then start ignoring this thing that's telling them that it's impossible for it to be what they thought it was. But I've not got an answer for that, so I'm going to throw that out. And it's just bonkers, man. Bonkers.
Insane. It's insane.
Yeah. And again, it's not just the water and the pressure aspect. I mean, everyday practical reality is assuming a level earth. It's all right there in front of us. Everybody's experience is of a flat, level horizon. Everywhere they fucking go, all the applications we're using is assuming a level earth beneath our feet. But, oh no, I don't know what the sun is, so fuck all that. I mean, and I'm going to listen to bullshitters in my ear You know, and because I want to please everybody and be accepted by everybody, I'm going to start spewing their mantras and giving, you know, attention to it as if it's got some sort of relevance or importance when it doesn't have any relevance or importance. Again, this is a problem when you're trying to please people and be the centre of attention. You're just going to confuse yourself, and you're going to confuse other people around about you. You know, so that's why I say don't get involved in this if you're not committed to knowing what the fucking problems are, because you're just not doing it any justice.
Right.
And people, there's a responsibility, because people are going to be affected by certain people's, you know, decisions or actions or what they say or whatever else, you know.
Right. So. Right. If you're not sure of something, you really truly have no business putting yourself out there. And because I mean, okay, like I take most people as being genuine. Okay, if they're in the chat and they're at it, or if they're in this arena and they have another agenda, then you know that's on them. But if you put yourself out there and like imagine someone new coming to Flat Earth and hearing all this other bullshit, okay, and how you are negatively affecting the message being spread, which is if there is an awareness that allows exploration, it's good for humanity in general. It'll be good for everybody. And if you're doing something, even with the best intentions, and you're muddying the waters because you're not secure in yourself, get the fuck out of it. Step aside. Step to the fucking background. You're doing nothing but hurting everything.
Yeah.
You know, and the I don't know if it's cowardice or if it's, I mean, I hate to be that harsh, okay? But, you know, some people are so afraid of being wrong, they think they have to entertain every fucking idea on planet Earth. Yeah. You know, oh, I don't want to be found out to be wrong later. Well, guess what? It's not a fucking globe. You were already wrong, okay? So being found out to be wrong again, you know, if you stand in your knowing, it requires someone to prove you wrong. Okay, and with that new information, you can formulate a better hypothesis of what the fuck it is, you know. But if you're wishy-washy and you're giving all this stuff, I mean, it's just so frustrating, you know. And people don't realize when they're when they have a weak spine, or I mean, I hate to be so harsh, but you know, weak people make me sick. Okay, and it's just, if you are so unsure of yourself, get the fuck out of it. Stop influencing other people, because even if you turn away 2 or 3 people, those people could have led to tens of thousands of people ultimately if they had become grounded in their knowing. You know what I mean? And I don't know. I'm not trying to, you know.
Well, I'm fully with you, Robert. You know, I think, you know, and I don't want this to sound too poetic, but, you know, the truth is something pure and innocent that needs to be defended at all costs, right? Right. And, you know, my feeling is that if, you know, my expectation of anybody in this, that saying that he's a real flat earth inquirer, right, and looking into knowing the truth, you know, I expect nothing other than absolute honesty, integrity, and absolutely no other motive, right? Yeah. I don't want to hear any other motive about whatever, you know, I need to feed my family, you know, fuck. Hey, we all need to do that, right? I don't want to hear other motives about, you know, oh, you know, I want to be, I want people to notice me or get recognition, all that pish, right? You know, if you're in this arena at this very moment, and we've got a great chance of doing something, so let's not fuck it up. Then, as far as I'm concerned, everybody has to be in it with absolute integrity and honesty, and with no other intent other than uncovering the truth. Yeah. And nothing else should be in that game. And if you're not capable of that, you're not willing, or you can't for whatever reason, then stay out of the way, because you're not making it any better. You're perpetuating again that mindset, right? Yeah. The one we just talked about. So that's my feeling on the thing, you know.
You're spot on, Gavin. Just as you say, for people who are concerned about psyops or looking at other people to confirm things or whatever, what Gav's just said and what we've been pointing out and what I've said at the beginning of this is exactly that. Look for these people who are like that, because this is about integrity, honesty, straight to the fucking point, with no other motive other than having an understanding of what is actually true. And that's it. So when you get these people who are detracting from that, pulling it in different directions, trying to fill your head full of nonsense and fantasy and dishearten you and whatever else, there's an issue with these people. That I'm not saying that they're complicit and part of some agenda. You don't need that. You have real people that just get involved for selfish, wrong reasons, that are not here with integrity and an understanding and a willingness to have a further understanding. They're in it for selfish gain. They may start off with the professed integrity, and then they start to think, oh, there's an opportunity for me here. I might just try and exploit this. And then as soon as that starts to happen, you can see the whole thing just start to fall apart.
I mean, you can see it in your own personal or business life, So, I mean, why should we think it's going to be any different here, right? Why should we put up with it? We know the problems it can cause, right? So, I mean, if you can't bring that to the table, leave all your other motives and intentions out of this and just concentrating on the one thing, then you're only going to bring trouble with you, right? So you have to catch yourself. You need to reflect on what you're doing, how you're doing it, how you're representing it, and you need to be very careful and do that every single fucking day, if you ask me. It's not an easy task. I'm not saying it is, but...
And these things I'm saying is based on my experience. I've been in this journey. I can see the pitfalls. I can hear the voice in my mind, the opportunist, the ego, wanting to jump in, and, your priorities may start to shift, but you have to be aware of yourself enough to go, well, get a grip. That's not right. I'm not going to involve myself with that.
We know how it ends as well, Dale, don't we? I mean, you can have a backstabbing frenzy amongst your friends, never mind the people you don't fucking know. Do you know what I mean? So, it needs to be kept out of it. We don't need jealousy. We don't need greed. We don't need any of these proverbial 7 sins, They all need to stay completely out of this, right?
It's not a fucking social club. We're in a fucking serious predicament here, and we're looking for the objective fucking facts and truths of our existence. You know what I mean?
That's what I wonder, Del. Like, say if there was a sultan or something, right? Like an oil baron, and just for some reason he wants to know where he is and what's going on. Yeah. Something would have to be there to keep him quiet, because there are powerful people who exist.
Exactly.
And I do wonder sometimes why there aren't more powerful people stepping forward with this. It's sort of still very underground, and it feels very civilian.
Yeah. No,
we haven't heard much from upstairs, if you know what I mean.
Well, look at the common man who just has a normal job, a joiner, and likes to take cocaine and have a drink at the weekend, and shag a woman or whatever. It's difficult enough to prize them from that. Little trinket. Never mind somebody who's living a lavish, luxurious lifestyle, who has absolutely never gave any consideration to this question, probably isn't even aware of people like us, because they're too busy fucking flying jets and, going on holiday in a fucking yacht. So, it's circumstances and it's layers and, variations of people at all different walks of life. But even somebody with that, an incredible amount of wealth, they're still bound by restrictions. There's still exclusion zones for them. There's still passport controls, boundaries, constraints on these people. They're not free to just roam willy-nilly wherever they like.
In certain respects, they're even less free in their heads than we are, to be honest, I mean, I don't necessarily, think that somebody who has a lot of money is actually any happier. I know that sounds a bit corny, right? But you get caught up in all these things as well, right? You have to make more. You have to keep it where it is. You've got a whole barrage of people around you who are, circulating to keep it that status quo for you. So you're even more handcuffed to the system than maybe your average Joe, to be quite honest. I think they'll be the last, Merrill, is what I'm saying.
And when they're a bit disgruntled, it's all right, because they've got the ability to just distract themselves with some other lavish experience or
some other shite.
That's it. That's the problem.
That's interesting, actually, because there's I mean, you might have a position of wealth that you attained through diligence and hard work. It can happen, obviously. Today I was actually commissioned to edit or translate some Thai book about some kind of prominent figures of family lineage, and this lineage started with this guy that did a lot to develop Thailand, because he traveled and he brought a lot of European ideas. And one of the things they did was bring buses, through his own inspiration and hard work and stuff. He developed this transportation system for Bangkok, and obviously it was very profitable for him. It started with the horses and carriages, and then he was using buses and things. But then that got taken off them by the government. It was a huge thing, and then it got taken by the government as a cash cow, I suppose. But then the daughter then became the Minister of Transport.
Yeah.
So she was in a position of power in which she could have taken back the family business that the government had taken from them in the first place, but she didn't.
Yeah.
She was the first female Minister of Transport, and so she attained this position in this government position. But she didn't do what a lot of people would have done, and used that position to regain what had been taken from the family. So in that sense, there was integrity within that position that she had, and obviously that's recognized. So obviously, wealthy people do a lot of things that are beneficial, and they often turn around once they become successful and do what they can to repay. I mean,
But then on the flip side of that, Nick, you've also got the opposite. You've got people who may have worked hard and endeavoured to achieve and accumulated mass wealth. Then their descendants are born into privilege, and they have a total different mindset, and they're operating from there. So I mean, there's so many complexities and layers to this. It's not just black and white. It's the Illuminati, the elites against us, like as if they're a fucking alien race. I'm not saying that there may not be an aspect to that. I'm not making any claims, but we've got human aspects that can influence, behaviours and encourage different behaviours. Somebody with the opportunity to show integrity may just prefer their stature. I like my stature though, and I want to maintain that for myself. So fuck integrity. So many wee different facets in society that play a role.
Well, I'm sure that's the reason more teachers and professors and stuff haven't come forward, because they have tenure at risk and all that. I mean, if they come out and say, hey, the globe's bullshit, their position is done. At the point that it's at right now, there's not
for the time being. See, people aren't thinking beyond their own circumstances.
Right.
Yeah. Exactly.
Right.
I actually think the bigger fear that they probably have is not just, to lose money or tenure, but it's actually a feel of failure, ridicule, embarrassment, Those are the things that I think people fear more than anything else, like losing a pound or two,
Right.
I think that's the bigger reason why they're not coming out in force,
You're probably right on that. Well, it seems to me that the people in academia would have looked at this issue at least privately, because they had to have caught wind of it by now.
Well, I know for a fact that, people that I know who I studied with, professors of mathematics nowadays, right, who I've spoken to recently, I know they're looking at it, and I know they're just too afraid to face it, and they're too afraid to come out and talk about it, even if they wanted to, but it's a fear of ridicule. Rather than I've got a job I'm going to lose, because
which really, if they thought about it, should highlight a real problem, that that fear of ridicule. Why? Because you're questioning something that's been professed to be objectively true to you. If it's objective science, they should be looking at it and saying, why is there even ridicule?
Exactly.
Look at it properly. Why are we seeing these behaviours? These behaviours should tell you that something is wrong. We should be able to question any aspect of professed objective science without any fear.
I fully agree with you.
So,
but that's again, I think these people are not comfortable enough with their own minds and understanding how they tick. I think that's a problem too. They've had their heads so up at their arseholes, looking at equations or, an expertise compartmentalized, that they just don't understand the rest of it, you know.
Exactly.
And yeah,
Exactly, mate.
just a little joke that just to bring a touch of levity. It was actually a comment I seen, and I've heard this joke before, but I just read a comment, somebody brought it back up. Like the human being or the human race is a bunch of scientists, you know, that they're so convinced nowadays that they don't need God anymore. You know, there's a lot of philosophers have talking God is dead and we don't need him, and we can do absolutely everything nowadays, right? We can clone people. You know, we understand that it all came from random chance and Big Bang. So all these scientists get together and they say, right, which one of us is going to go up and tell the big man that we don't need him anymore, you know? So they draw straws, and this one wee scientist gets to go up to God to tell him that we don't need him anymore, you know? And he goes up to God and says, well, you know, listen, God, you know, we've got it all figured out, you know? We know everything, you know? We can do everything, so we don't really need you. And God says, is that right? He says, well, maybe we just have a wee competition, you know, then, you know, why don't we make some more men, you know? And the scientist says, no bother. So the scientist reaches down into the earth and mud and comes back up and says, I'm ready. And God says, no, you're going to have to go and get your own earth and mud, my man. It kind of brings it full swing back to the fact that, you know, we should be talking about substances, right? And at the same time, it's a kind of anti-atheist joke, you know.
It's the whole give us one free miracle and we'll explain the rest. The miracles are just all here and we'll just take it from there. You know?
Anyway. So.
Well, that's a really interesting point, because that's the fundamental question at the root of it all, which is totally, as you said, totally avoided by all these distractions. It's like, you know, it's a really, really fundamental question that we should all be asking, and we're just constantly distracted. And you know, someone might say, well, how does the sun work then? And nobody knows. Get comfortable with that. And
exactly. I was on a chat box earlier. It was one of these, you know, fucking on repeat. Oh, look at the black holes, and a black hole's like a tornado, and it's like this, and you know. And I'm in the chat box here, and I'm going, "This is bullshit. This is cartoons for gullible adults." And you know, and then I get one guy going, "Oh, how does the sun work in your flat world?" I'm like, "Oh, for fuck's sake, is this it? You know, this is the same rhetorical bullshit we're going to get all the time? Oh, how does the sun work? Well, never mind the list of facts I've just gave you. No, you can't explain the sun, so fuck your facts." I mean,
yeah. It's very frustrating, when you come across that.
You know what I find really crazy? Like, I've just been a blue collar worker my whole life, right? Just different stuff, mostly a screen printer and stuff, right? And I see discussions amongst people, and I don't see many of them putting forth their academic credentials, right? And all of a sudden, it seems to me, when some people come to the realization that we're on a level stationary plane, they suddenly become astrophysicists or whatever, and think that they need to grasp a full understanding of the stars, how it moves in the southern hemisphere, and all this shit. It's like, you didn't have a fucking clue about that to begin with. Okay, and now because you can't answer that, you think there's somehow that, you know, the level stationary plane is somehow flawed. You had no concept. You lived your entire fucking life and you may have looked up at the sky, you may have watched some clouds go by, you may have noticed an eclipse here and there or whatever, but you had no fucking clue as to what was going on above you your entire life. And now, because you realize the globe is a lie, suddenly now you need answers to all these fucking fantastical things that you never even considered your entire life. You know, I mean, it's just ridiculous, you know. It's somehow now you should understand everything.
And they ignore it. They ignore the fact that you're saying to them, well, you know, explain to me where you get the measurable proof of the dimensions of Earth from that, and they just don't get it. But it's for me, it's part of the cult, the program. you know, that they've made such a big deal. They've championed astrophysicists, mathematicians, space travel. They've made it this big relevance when really it's irrelevant to the topic of discussion. But they just think it's relevant for, you know, idiotic reasons. They probably don't even know why they think it's relevant.
Well, you think about, and I'm sure it's worldwide, even the term rocket scientist was meant to put some kind of a higher intellect on a rocket scientist. This isn't rocket science. Like, that's somehow really advanced, right? Above your station of thinking. You know what I mean? Even that term, it's not rocket science. You know, like somehow you can't grasp something. You know what I mean? So they've elevated it in every way to where, you know, you'll defer your thinking to someone else. You know,
authority.
It's ridiculous.
It's like anything, you know, even something like making a car requires so many different levels of knowledge to go into the making of that thing. You know, no one person is going to be able to create, you know, something that we use every day. And, you know, just because you drive a car, you don't necessarily have to know how it works. The whole point of having one is to just take the journey.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you say, we're all of a sudden we're expected to be these orbital mechanics, and it's a great learning curve. You know, that was what was wonderful about getting into this whole thing is examining those assumptions that we have, and yes, learning a lot, learning a word like the heliocentric model. And, you know, it just rolls off the tongue now, but I must admit that was something I didn't know a few years ago.
It's a huge point, Nick, you know, because you get these detractors that go on about this like there's something wrong, but just as you've pointed out, it's sharpening people up. You know, why would anybody have an issue with people being discerning and sharpening up their reasoning processes to identify why they think the way they think and have a better understanding of what they assume to be true or what is true? I mean, it's all positive. So there's another layered aspect to this that we have to look at. You know, why are people opposing that? Because
they don't want that.
Exactly. And as I keep saying, the majority of people I meet in the street, from academia to the common blue-collar worker, as Robert says, and you ask them, do you believe you live on a globe? Aye. Why? I don't know. I don't really know, because that's what I was told. Well, that's a fucking problem there for me. You know?
I mean, you can see sometimes, Dale, just in that very question, that's the first time they've ever been confronted with that cognitive dissonance that they have, right? And the fact that they're not looking at themselves, you know, I mean, I always try and bring it down to these two things: dismantling belief systems, which you do by self-reflecting, and understanding what's going on, and then active inquiry, i.e., when I say active, I mean actually making a choice to go and study something and get to know it and understand it fully, you know. And that's what I hope the awakening is all about, you know. If there is one, then it's people doing those two things, right? So that they actually wake up.
Exactly. And again, you know, pleading with people for the push for this, never mind the camps and making it into a dichotomy and an argument. You know, this is beneficial to the whole. If it's a globe, fine, rejoice in it. Help to progress it forward and get it, you know, recognised as a worldwide question, and then we can have a proper, full understanding. But that's not what's been offered. We're getting opposition, we're getting muddying of the waters, we're getting, you know, all sorts of factions playing ridiculous games to thin out the whole thing and you know, limit the progress. It's obvious and clear to see. So logically, the majority of these people don't have a leg to stand on in regards to their actions and what they're partaking in. They're just there ripping the piss, muddying it, and holding the whole fucking thing back.
Arrested development. That's we should be and could be advancing so much more, both on, as you know, the physical exploration and the spiritual one. Even if it's a question about, you know, that kind of unanswerable question about you know, the life and death thing. Do we carry our experiences and our knowledge over in this kind of soul or whatever that we have when we're here? I was chatting with this Buddhist teacher the other day, and you know, I suppose the main aim for her is this innocent perception is being able to look at something or experience the world without labeling anything. So, you know, of course, everything's filtered with languages. And it's interesting. I was, you know, watching my daughter learn. She's 2 years old now, so she's learning. You know, she can look at a you know, like one of those squidgy toys or something, and okay, that's an elephant, that's a monkey, that's a giraffe, and some of these things she might not have ever seen in real life, but she recognizes those things. And then, but of course, you know, if you stuck a globe in front of a child and said, and then they'd learn that that's the Earth, that's where I live, and they make that association from a very, very young age. Yeah. So, you know, we don't call it a globe, we call it the Earth. Yeah. Just like we call an elephant and things like that. So that sticks, and yeah, and it's through the language. So to train your mind, it's probably the most difficult thing to do, is to detach from these recognitions that we have through language and culture, whatever it might be, and disassociate. And I suppose one of the goals in life could be to return to that innocent perception where all those filters are, you know, just off, and you're experiencing it without any. Yeah. It must be the most difficult thing to do, to not label things in your head.
But a child for me is telling something, because they have that innocence, the expectation. You know, only do we end up in this position when we're dealing with lies, manipulations. If we never had lies, manipulations, if we had transparency, if we had a proper process of mapping the mind and we're carrying that on, then children would be allowed to be free and to experience and have innocence and to continue that forward. But they're not being allowed that, because they're being met by deception, manipulations. You know, and it's forcing us into this process of reasoning, addressing things, and losing our own innocence, because, you know, we've been met with so much fucking shit that it leaves you at the point, well, I better sift through this shit here because I'm sick of swimming in it. You know, I want to find the edge. You know. So,
because too, like it seems like reality has been constructed by other people's minds.
Yeah.
So if you have a kind of knee-jerk reaction to it, maybe that's healthy, because we didn't design this place.
No.
We're just born into it. You know, I've got serious issues with it too. Like the more I go through this, everyone, and the brain starting to open and let go, you start to face the fear, and then you start to, I mean, I think you need your rational mind to temper your emotions as well at this stage. But if we can all, I mean, do you feel in a way we're having a lot of leeway given if we talk about, say, the Truman Show, right? And in a way we're all like in a Big Brother kind of situation where we're all on the internet, we've all got a connection, and this discussion is being allowed, for want of a better word, to take place. And I think it would be being monitored. I think there would be people high up listening to this, potentially, as well. Because, I mean, if you're honest with yourself, this is the situation on Earth right now.
Yeah. I think you would need to be naive not to realise that, Meryl.
Yeah.
You know? And I think that's part of the problem as well. People don't want to face up to that. That's a reality. That's what's actually going on, that human beings are capable of these things. You know? Yeah. I really don't think people want to really accept the depths that human beings will go to. You know?
I think we're going to be okay, guys. I'll put my nuts out there. Like, you know, it's sort of this is a big deal. it is worldwide, plain wide, however you want to slice it.
Yeah.
And you can't put that back in the box. You just can't.
No, but you can slow it down.
Yeah.
You know? And
Yeah.
if you can slow it down enough and drown real people with real integrity and a passion for truth, if you can drown them and slow them enough, eventually we'll die out. And what does that then leave? So I don't know. I'm not to be
No, it's good. It's
not to poo-poo your attitude, Mero. It's commendable your attitude, but I'm a realist. I've just got to play devil's advocate continually.
I just wonder, say, the more this grows and unfolds, it'll get louder, it'll get stronger, not weaker, just on a more positive end of things.
Yeah.
I wonder who we'd actually talk to. Like if it got to that sort of level where the natives were truly getting restless and, I was even thinking the other day of the Queen. Like she's still alive. And it seems when she was coronated, she inherited the earth. And I mean, I know these are big things to talk about, but at the same time, this is the situation we're in. I wouldn't even know, you talk to the United Nations, the world leaders. I mean, who do you go to?
You just keep speaking to people. As I said to the beginning of this, Mero, I'm not a politician, or any of these things. The only thing I know, and I feel in myself is just keep swinging. Just keep making a noise. I don't have a clear-cut path. I know my end goal is that exploration, a vision of people spreading out and establishing what it is. And that people can say that's just my subjective vision. But for me, that's where I have to aim. But I forget what I was going to say there. I forget the point.
No, that's good. I mean, I'd love to see that happen too, mate. I would.
Well, that's it. Sorry, I remember now. Swinging. I said it from the beginning. There's no handbook, as far as I'm aware. This has never happened before. So there's nothing to reference from. It's like you're just in the dark, continually throwing punches. And hoping that there's going to be a clearing somewhere. And that's all I know. I don't have. I'm not the man to go. Oh, well, let's go to the political arena. Or, let's go to the United Nations, because my attitude is I don't bow to any authority. I don't want fuck all for these people. I just want people disgruntled in their own individuality to make enough noise for it to be felt, for these fuckers to know that things are going to change and that they better start fucking toeing the line without going and begging them or asking them. It's just a shift in people's attentions, a shift in people's attitudes that they're going to recognise, and then they have to act upon that, without us having to ask them for anything. But that's just me from my point of view. I'm not saying people shouldn't endeavour, go to speak to the United Nations, whatever activism they think is useful or maybe productive or progressive, by all means go for it. I can only act on who I am.
I'd say, obviously a lot of the changes that have happened in the world come from obviously grassroots activism and with no particular appeal to authority, whether it's people not wearing fur coats anymore. Those businesses just go out of business. They can't sell to the general public anymore because someone made a fuss, someone threw red paint on a celebrity, and then it just happened. And governments and authorities are made up of people who are affected by these things, and there are surely wealthy people in positions of power that are affected by this whole thing. So it will naturally diffuse.
Sorry, we can influence it to the consensus, but this is different because the consensus is not about people just winning an argument. The consensus would be a foundation of transparency, honesty, and integrity. So they can be pressured into that if the people are aligned with that focus and that's what they're demanding. Just as you say, Nick, take your attention from the product, and the product will either go away or it will change to suit the demand. Sorry. Hello. mister.
Yeah. I think we talked about it before as well. The whole. Some of the work I'm doing right now is based on the kind of the certain kind of safety standards and things like that that have been set up by the European Union and things. So yeah, you can look at it either way. The EU is this kind of monster run by corporate giants and bankers and things. But at the same time, there are people instigating these things that are beneficial for other people, that you end up with something that has some kind of quality, and you're not going to get poisoned, and there's or the environment is being kind of looked after. It all takes a lot of time, and there is good intention behind a lot of these things to kind of raise standards and try and make improvements in the way things are. But yeah, a lot of the time it just doesn't move fast enough, and you're like you say, the status quo is dragging its heels, and these changes take a long time. But interesting point you made about that there's maybe people or entities that are aware that, as you say, this generation will die off, and if we're not doing what we're driven. I think I can assume that the people on this panel are here because we have this passion to do something positive, and that's not the only influence we want to have on people is to think for your fucking selves. Do your own research, arrive at your own decisions. We're not telling you what to think, but maybe how to think and approach the problem, so that we can collectively deal with it as individuals. And everyone has a unique skill, whatever form of activism you want to take or whatever, just to get people to think for themselves. That's all, and then it will just develop organically if that's and of course you have to be extreme to just to kind of get things going a lot of the time, just to motivate people, and then they can slowly kind of get the ball rolling. And I think it is snowballing. Obviously the internet and all that stuff helps. I hate those comments when people think that you're denying all the science that gives you the internet, etc. No, great stuff.
Aye, we embrace that stuff. That's real. I totally agree, Nick, but there's a responsibility with that, and what people call activism, and how that interaction with an individual and how you're going to affect them, and how you could possibly send them on another tangent. There's a huge responsibility for me that comes with that, which I was well aware of. And I'm sure people can see the nonsense that's been perpetuated, since those early days, and how it's transpired into an absolute circus now. Which is detrimental as far as I'm concerned, because that initial interaction with people, the exchange of information and what you're offering is hugely important to the progress of that person that you're speaking with.
I agree, Dale. It's all about the quality of that interaction. We've said that before. That's what people need to focus on. And I'm of the same opinion as you, by the way. I don't think taking it to the higher ups is going to change anything. I think these guys will tend to have too much of a vested interest, or they're actually in that job because that's what they wanted for all the wrong reasons anyway, right? So I really do think it's the man next to you, to your left and to your right. If you can have a quality interaction with him or them or her, and that they catch on, and we're talking about exactly that, how to think, what to think about, how to discern bullshit. If we get enough of that on the ground, then things will change on their own. That will become the norm, right? Exactly. Speaking truthfully and honestly with passion will become the norm, and not lying and cheating and deceiving, So I think it's just a matter of keeping the man to your right and your left, and having those quality interactions. That's what I think, anyway.
Yeah, well, it's the only thing you can aim for, Gav, whether it's an ideal, pipe dream, whatever people want to call it. What else are you supposed to do? Just sit and say, oh, well, fuck it. I'm just going to look after number one here. And, no, I was well aware that I'm passionate about finding out where the fuck I am, and I know that the only chance I have of that is increased numbers. No, that I'm dependent on other people, but this, you know, that the progress does depend on numbers. Just for that very reason, we need to pressure these people into, you know, maybe not disclosing anything to us, but remove the constraints, allow us to move freely, and let us find out what the place actually is for ourselves, you know.
Yeah.
West Coast Wisdom, I don't have a place to send you the link. I see you've messaged me there, but I don't have you as a contact on Google. I don't know if you can maybe send me an email. But if you send me an email, you're going to have to put something in there that only we would know, so that I know that it's you. Sorry, guys. Just carry on, guys. I'm just going to be
It's horrible that it's actually come to that you have to have secret fucking ciphers so you don't get porn bombed. It's pathetic, isn't it?
Exactly. Right, I've got two. Right, hang on a minute.
So, Robert, how is it over? It's Florida you're in, isn't it?
Yeah, it's Florida I'm in. Personally, my life is a little rough right now. It's become harder to be a slave once you realize you are a slave. And
tell me about it.
I had gotten a new job, and it lasted all of about 2 weeks because they were choosing to pay me the same thing I was making like 30 years ago. And just really hard to bow my head and be a slave anymore. My wife is not real impressed with the amount of time I spend on YouTube. It's probably not conducive to our overall future. It's just, I don't see, you know, I would love to make a living expressing my opinion in this, but there's no way to really, right? And it's just, in my heart, it feels like there's nothing more important. You know what I mean? And it's just really, really hard, to be honest, to wrap my head around. You know, I feel like people that see it. I'll give you, for instance, last night, my wife told me I was writing a book on Facebook because I'm continuously posting things on Facebook, little truth bombs, right? And I can tell that most people just ignore it. But I had a gentleman that I used to work with contact me last night, and he said, "Okay, so if the Earth is flat, tell me why you think that way, so I can understand what you're looking at," right? And I only type with one finger, so it's really rough. And so I spent like probably an hour writing this, essentially a book, right? Before I even got to the reason why it's a level plane, and talking to him, giving him, because that might have been his only information that he took initially, right? That he may have not engaged in another interaction. So I explained to him, like, about people holding up models before exploration, and about, you know, the breakdown of how to tell what is true, and encouraging him to not take my word for it, to go and investigate, and what to go and look at, and what to stay away from, before I ever got to the fact that water lays level. You know what I mean? Because I feel there's such a huge responsibility now that I've put myself out there, to make sure that they're not just, I don't give them an answer that they're going to base a decision on, and that could have ramifications far beyond my life. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely.
And so Florida is good, but I'm in an area that I'm in, Tampa, right? Has a huge population. And from the way things look around me, it looks like pretty soon, at least, they're going to probably crash the dollar of the United States, you know? And it just feels, on one hand, totally hopeless, you know what I mean? And I don't have a way to get out to the woods, or, you know what I mean? And
off the grids or something like that.
Yeah. Well, just get far enough away from major populations, so if they crash the dollar, or drop the electric grid, or do something nuts, people in the United States are going to go haywire. Okay, we've been armed and fed with so much propaganda, and they're so misled that it's really kind of a dangerous situation, you know. And
But my feeling is, Robert, there's a lot of fear porn in that too, though. You know,
a lot.
But just to go back to the couple of points you made, you know, so I think it's an absolute great example that you had a quality interaction with a friend of yours, right? Instead of just being a Tommy gun of superficial points, right? You've actually went into depth and you've tried to give somebody real insights, you know. And I think that's exemplary, you know. I think that's the way we should all be trying to do it, rather than, you know, spraying this stuff everywhere. So I like that example. And
hold on. Gene, is that you?
It certainly is.
That's fine. Sorry, guys. I just had to double check there before I.
No, I just wanted to.
Well, thank you. Hey, West Coast. Hey, Gene.
Hey, Robert, Merle, Nick.
Sorry for butting
Gav.
You go and fuck yourself, you big fucking wanker. I completely lost my train of thought.
You know, must have been a lot of hot air.
Yeah, big load of testosterone bullies.
I'm not that fucking terrified of being palm bombed. You know?
The last porn bombing sent me into a mental distress for about a month. That's Merle.
Robert, the only thing what I wanted to point out too was I empathise fully with your problem of once you're at this level and at this stage, actually trying to go out and do the things that you used to do, right? As if they were still fun. You don't really want to do them. Like, I mean, you drag your knuckles to work, right? Because, you know, the whole thing is just unworthy near enough of your attention anymore, right? You realize how all the bullshit and all the crap that you paid attention to in the past is of absolutely no importance, and you want to give as much time as you possibly can, right? And the older you get, the worse it gets, probably, right, to the most important topic. So, you know, I just want to say I empathize with what you're saying, and don't think you're alone, no?
Yeah.
I'd second that, Robert. It's just I think we all go through it, and obviously, when we're you got to focus on raising your family and feeding yourself and all that stuff. But you know, I'm not sure how old you are. You might be older than me, I should imagine, but you made it this far, mate, through some tough times, I'm sure. And
we don't want this to turn into a counselling session.
No.
That's where I was going with the conversation.
I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it. You know.
We'll be getting into ball shaving talk shortly.
We don't want to know, Del. We don't want to know.
Secretly, you do want to know, Robert. Don't tell lies. You want to know if I'm smooth or rough?
No.
Robert, I've just returned to work after being off since the beginning of August, and I did a staged back to work, and I'll be full time as of Monday. But it's very weird, very weird. Every time, because this is the second, third, fourth time I've had an extended absence from work due to rehabilitation following surgery or surgery complications or whatever. So, and every time I go back, I feel more empowered. I'm in my fifth, sixth decade now, and it takes you a while to get to that point. But it's really bizarre how you can live in that little, I say little bubble, but it's not a little bubble. It's it's an awareness that you can actually function in and filter out the bullshit and still go 9 to 5, day to day, pick up the paycheck at the end of the month because you know you need it for the stuff that you actually just makes the world go easier. You don't have to do it, but it does make the world go easier. And yeah, it's two disjointed lives. You get in the car and you become that, how can I put it, capitalist, commercial. The person that goes to earn the dollar, the pound, the slave wage. You get back in the car at the end of 5 o'clock and you switch back to that person that is aware. Now, you go through all day and not mention flat earth, not challenge people's absurdities and beliefs and capitalist ideas. I mentioned in chat earlier, you mentioned something about the rich getting richer and what have you. I have a boss who chased a £5 credit for 6 months. Somebody spent an hour a week for 6 months chasing £5. The rich get richer and they don't really realise the worthlessness of their richness until they lose it. Because, funnily enough, pound notes don't keep you warm. You can't eat them. You can't wear them. And they don't keep the rain off your head. Literally, they don't. Wood, slate, stone, coal, they all do. Pound notes go and chop a tree down. It doesn't actually cost us pound notes. It's there in front of us. All you need to do is put effort in. Now, there's ways of living your life. You can play the game and you can stay in, or as I call it, on planet Gene. Everybody knows me here. They love me and they accept me. And that's because it's my world. It's not their world. I pop into their world 9 o'clock in the morning, Monday to Friday, and I leave at 5 o'clock. And I don't nod, I don't bow, and I don't scrape. And if my boss, as he did the other day, turns around and talks to me like a piece of shit, I tell him that, I'm sorry, that's not acceptable. Go away, think about what you said, and come back and have a conversation when you've grown up. We all have to frigging well do it. It's part of what we're brought up to do, and it's part of the system. I can't remember who of you was saying earlier. It might have been Merle. How do we change it? When does it change? When does it stop? When we all wake up, because there will always be distance. There will be a tipping point, but who do we go to? Do we go to CERN? Do we go to NASA? Do we go to governments? No.
Do we give the Queen
next
away?
door? Well, we just keep. The thing is, the person next door. There's a twat in chat, Professor Bill Bellend. No, sorry, Phil Bell. Professor Phil Bell. I have nothing to lose. I will still be putting satellites in space. Well, that's cool. Can you actually prove to us you've put them into a atmosphere, pressurized system next to a vacuum with no barrier? No, you can't. Don't be a tosser. At the end of the day, you're doing a job, Phil. A job which you have invested a lot of your time in. Funnily enough, a lot of your effort, a lot of your so-called intellect in. But so has the person who stacks shelves in fucking Aldi. Because for them, that's the limit of their capabilities. Stop judging people. It just makes me so pissing mad. At the end of the day, we're going to get there when we get there. Yes, I agree with you, Del. Exploration. I've changed my ideas of what this bloody place can be. And it could be any frigging shape.
Yeah.
Who the hell knows how many Antarcticas there are? How many fucking ice walls?
Yeah.
Do we really know that bloody Cook, whoever it was, sailed around one ice wall? Did you meet him? Did you have a cup of tea with him?
Nope.
No, you didn't. So what do? We keep talking to people. We don't know who those people are, what they do, who they talk to when you finish talking to them. But they will talk to people. That's the nature of the beast.
Yeah.
We're humans. Like dogs talk to each other, they talk to each other.
There's a few
Doesn't
points
matter
here.
where you are.
Totally
Anyway,
agree.
that's really rambling.
People do need to keep speaking to each other. It's exactly that, you know.
Yeah, but not preaching through bloody,
No,
what are they, megaphones?
no.
Yeah.
Not going on to, I'm going to say it. I really am. I'm sorry. I'm pissed off. I am sick and tired of this fucking lie. Oh, what was it? A Globe lie? Was it a Globe lie tour? Yeah, I'm going to say it. There are people out there who have channels that have shown jack shit content since 2 weeks ago. Why? Because their content depended on a fucking guy driving around in a camper van. A guy who said he would do it out of a tent out the back of his car by himself.
Yeah.
And did he? No. Lots of people jumped on the bandwagon. I'll hold my hand up. I used to comment on his channels. I thought what he was doing was bloody good. But there became a point where that tipped, and somebody said, oh, can't do it on my own. Needs to be bigger, needs to be better, needs to be flashier.
But Gene, it's not even that. It's my issue is not with that. It's the information, it's the interactions, it's the quality.
It's shite.
It wouldn't matter to me if it was happening. People on tour buses and whatever else. If the narrative, the quality of information and the interaction was being, you know, addressed and was being progressed and refined and people.
Thank you.
You know, but that's just not what's happening. It's just bullshit.
I agree. Yeah, absolutely spot on. There is so much more information that's come out since that started, and they haven't changed the narrative.
It's like Robert was saying, you know, and that's why I expressed and showed, you know, my approach was to hope that people would have other tools or a different way of approaching. But as Robert was saying as well, you know, you're having to lay things out. You know, what we're talking about, a process of mind, how the mind works, laying out, you know, the aspects of language, like the mathematics, how it's being applied, where the twists are. You know, there's loads of aspects that are fundamental to this before you get to, I can zoom in on a ship that's over the curve and bring it back into view. I mean, these are things that people are going to go have a look at, see contradictions, and then have confusion and doubt in their mind. But if you're talking things from, you know, at the first point, laying it out, taking people step by step, agreeing on first principles, there's a whole responsibility that comes to having this interaction with people that's just not being shown, you know? So that's where my issue is with it. That's always been where the issue is with it, you know?
No, totally with you. And I've had a conversation ongoing now for 2 years with the guy I work with, and we still haven't got to any resolution. But it has gone in small stages. He has to digest, break down, put it into perspective. And, you know, Arthur Feelig in chat earlier put it very, very succinctly. It's watch me, like me, subscribe me.
Yeah. And
it's nothing to do with actually what we are trying to get to the bottom of, which is where the fucking hell we live.
Exactly.
You know, and there are people out there who are clearly on their own path, on their own journey, whatever reason they want to take that track, and they are using the truth, they're using the lie of where we live as a method to get to that, whether it's celebrity fame, whether it's academic fame, whether it's peer fame, whether it's YouTube fame. At the end of the day, there is so much progressive work going on through lots and lots of different channels, lots and lots of different people's perspectives. The work that Gav's doing, you know, I listen to Globebusters, and I think that there are very few channels out there who have not changed their message, not changed the way they have done things since day one. Globebusters haven't changed what they've done. They've made it clear from day one. There are other people out there who have set out their stall, and people haven't realised that that's what their stall is actually selling.
Yeah.
They're going there to get a different product, and the product they're getting isn't what they went to get, because that isn't what the stall is.
Exactly.
I do get concerned. I did listen a lot to a lot of these channels that, as I say, coincidentally now have no content, haven't put out anything new. Probably they're exhausted.
People,
and probably, you know,
people in chat saying, you know, people do things the way they do. That's all very well and fine, but again, I want to get back to it. This affects us all as a whole. So, you know, this was the problem the last time when you raise concerns about certain groups forming, their antics, what their goals are. You get met with this bullshit. You know, we're trying to refine things and make things better. I'm passionate about progress and real truth. It's not about egotistical competitions and one-upmanship or relevance or any of that fucking stuff. It's about, you know, getting the information whittled right down to the factual points and how we can articulate that to other people. That's where the issue comes. Not about popularity or who's more relevant than the other. None of that's my drive and ambition, and none of the people here are the same. We're not sitting here bitching just about people for the sake of bitching. We're talking about the content that they're offering, because this naivety that's professed, oh, people just do it. No, look, this is a severe situation, and you understand infiltration. People should be well aware that grassroots movements have been hijacked and coerced and influenced through time and other aspects, you know, political, religious movements, whatever it may be. This is the tactics that are used. So when we see these behaviours and we raise concerns about it, people who are with integrity and honesty should be open to that and be willing to come to the table to have resolve. But we don't see that. We get doors shut in our face. We get hit piece videos made on us. You know, I had to put up with all sorts of vicious attacks and a barrage of nonsense because you're raising concerns. And again, we've got every right to, because we're in the dark. We don't know who's who. We don't know the real motives of people. And then we start to see through their content and their walk that there's questions to be asked. And when you ask those questions, you're being hit with a slam door, which for me there's a real issue. So it's not about ownership or egotistical things. It's about the willingness and the wish for progress. That's all. So these Muppets that are coming into the chat box, you know, trying to make out that what we're talking about is something other than what it actually is, fuck off.
I can put an analogy in with that, because and people might resonate, they may not. I have a very dysfunctional family, but I fell out, is that the word? I've got no idea. I think it was all over the fact that she sent my daughter a £10.30 check for her birthday once. And it was all done on mathematics, funnily enough. She worked out a percentage increase per year as to what she was going to put on her birthday check. And we didn't talk for several years, probably a decade or more. We still sent the obligatory Christmas cards. And one day, funnily enough, around about 2015, I picked up the phone and I said, I can't remember actually why. I didn't phone you for the last 10 years. And I ring her every month now. I have another sister. I have two sisters, but I have another sister who hasn't spoken to that said aunt for 20 years. Actually, sorry. It's probably about 30 years. In a normal conversation, apart from obviously obligatory family meetings. And that was all over somebody having a cold when they turned up for a Christmas meal. And it's bizarre that we don't put aside this stupidity, this inability as adults, as human beings, to just go, hang on a minute, that was a bit daft. Can we have a conversation and just put it? It's an old age saying, bygones. Just let it go.
Can I just jump in here and just change this up a wee bit? People in there, somebody's still going on about pressure gradients and blah, blah, blah. You know, in regards to this whole thing about, you know, in order to have pressure within a vacuum, you need containment. Oh, but why is there a pressure gradient then as you go up? Well, it's because there's less mass bearing down. That's what the pressure comes from. So an aircraft can still go up to an altitude and fly, and it can fly quicker because there's less drag of the air. But guess what? The engine's still fucking firing because there's still air up there. It's just that there's less pressure. Okay, fuck all. And you're professing there's different variant gases with different densities. So that should be telling you something.
That's kind of what I was talking about earlier, Del. Like, how much time did these people that spout shit like this consider the pressure gradient, okay, before they came to flat Earth? You know what I mean? Before they realized that the globe was a lie, how many of these people that talk about this shit actually considered the varying air pressure? You know, you may have known that they needed oxygen when they climbed up Mount Everest, but that's probably the extent of what you ever thought about it. You know, you never, unless you were in a trade where you had to maintain or build pressure, that probably never crossed your mind.
Robert, there's people that live at higher elevations that just adapt. It's about adapting. It's just because people that live at this pressure, when they go up there, they're no used to it, so they struggle with it. It's not that there's no any air for them to breathe.
Right.
You know, there's a different pressure on the lungs.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just absurd.
Aye. I mean, this is the point. That it still comes down to the fact you get people, human beings, claiming that it's possible for a vacuum to exist and a pressure to exist without containment from each other, which is absurd and an insult to anybody's intelligence who understands the real world. So, anyway.
Spot on, man. Absolutely spot on.
I had an observation about gravity. In as much as this age-old to explain gravity, and I touched on it earlier about chaos. If it wasn't down and the world simply wouldn't be as we know it. The grass wouldn't be at the bottom, and the leaves wouldn't be at the top of the tree and would be filled with blood as opposed to equally a nice pink colour all the way down colour. But yeah, so why do we breathe oxygen? Why do we need oxygen? Is that not the same as gravity? It's just because it is. Can anybody explain why humans have to have the gas mix that they have to exist?
Yeah.
Am I being stupid there, or
No,
is there any scientific evidence?
We wouldn't have lungs otherwise, would we?
Exactly, but that's what I'm saying. It's all is there because it is, Merle. You can't say a big case said, right, okay, you're going to have this. We have it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How can we?
Because I don't know if there's ever been a human being born without lungs and survived. You know, I don't know.
But did those lungs ever appear and only function with the element or the percentage of nitrogen that's in the atmosphere?
Listen, you know, because people are talking about why these things equalize and blah blah. You know, gas is subject to temperature, and I'm just gonna share something just to make the point with them and show them this. So bear with me, the new people.
Yeah.
Hang on, to make sure I'm on the right one. Aye, right, okay. So this is air-filled balloons being put into liquid nitrogen. Okay, so cooling it. Can everybody see this?
Yep.
That's a sealed unit. Now look what happens as the temperature starts to go up.
They recompress.
Yeah, they reinflate. So things are subject to temperature that cause compression, contraction, expansion, same as water. Anyway, sorry people, just wanted to show that to make the fucking point, you know.
Well, the weight of the gas would give pressure in itself, just like if you were to go to the bottom of the ocean and you have a cubic foot of water, the pressure on that water just from the sheer weight of the water above it is going to create pressure.
Exactly.
So the weight of the gas itself creates the pressure.
Exactly.
You know?
And you have fluctuations in regards to temperatures as well. So gas expands and contracts, and so does water.
Right.
So
yeah, I mean, there's a relationship between pressure, volume, and temperature, right? But what they don't always talk about is the fact that every single one of these things has to do with a specific substance, right?
Yeah.
We're talking about air and water. We're talking about the qualities of substances and not abstract things that we can divorce and manipulate in our minds, right? Like pressure, volume, and temperature without bringing it back to the actual substance, what we're talking about.
Yeah.
That's the very danger when you go into metaphysics.
Exactly.
So you've just outlined, Gav, why, the reason why we're stuck here. Because we can't go up and we can't go out. Because physically, we are restricted by pressure and heat or temperature. Our actual physical beings are restricted by how cold it gets and how low the pressure gets.
Yeah.
I agree. Our constitution has boundaries or limits.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Exactly.
So when we come back to the question of we are here because they're controlling us, they're keeping further land, da. Well, actually, this is where us as an animal being, physical entity, however you want to describe us, this is where we function. This is where we thrive.
Yeah.
Take us out of this environment and we become extinct.
Yeah.
We have to adapt to the new environment that we find ourselves in. And environment, how do we know if we can adapt or not?
That's it. Listen, guys, it's that time for me. So
thank you.
It's been a pleasure, and it's a great chat. Sorry, I'm going a wee bit short. You know,
no bother.
You know,
Take care, Dale.
We're open all the time, so people are free, can come whenever they want. You know.
Can I just say it's been lovely to say hello to Merle, actually, personally in voice. Hello, Merle.
Hello, Jane.
Hello again, Gav.
Hey, Jean, how are you?
Hi, Robert. Nick.
Hi, and
Nick,
I feel very honored to be on such a panel, so thank you guys.
Oh gosh, it's not an honour. It's just a group of friends.
I went fuck yourself, Robert.
Yeah, you put yourself on a pedestal, mate. Forget it.
Yeah.
Nick, hi. I love your stuff. Keep pumping it out there, because honestly, it's just so obvious. I was looking across the view from my kitchen today, and I've got trees higher than the mountains in the distance. Around a curve, it's all down to perspective, but there you go. Del, thank you, and love to the boys, and we'll see you soon.
You guys be safe.
See you, Robert.
Right, folks.
Yeah.
Cheers, everybody.
Cheers, Del.
Cheers,
Cheers, guys.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, mods.
Yeah. See ya. I'm out too, man. Cheers.
Give me a shout, Nick.
All right, will do, man. All right.
Cheers, guys. Thanks, everyone.
Gene, see you soon. Thank you.
Cheers.
Right, everybody. Much appreciated as always. I will see you very, very soon. Mods, always appreciated in the chat box there. Take it easy, people. See you soon.